Welcome back to Between Bells. I'm Nora Ali. U.S. women's national soccer team stars Megan Rapinoe, Christen Press, Tobin Heath, and Meghan Klingenberg fight not just on the field, but off the field as well. And together, the four of them launched a purpose-driven luxury lifestyle brand to challenge the status quo called Re-Inc. With that, they've created a deck of conversation cards called Reset the Table. Here to tell us more is Megan Rapinoe herself. Megan, great to have you here with us today. I love this idea. Explain to us what sparked and inspired the launch of these conversation cards.
It was a little bit of synchronicity, actually. We had an event, I think it was August of last year, coming off the World Cup. Obviously, that was incredible. And we had this idea of just sort of getting, sort of thought leaders. There was politicians there, activists, musicians, TV hosts, ourselves, and just to kind of have a conversation, break bread, have a nice brunch out in the sunshine. And in the beginning, I think it was actually Christen maybe who wrote a few conversation starters. We thought, we don't want to be the ones hosting the brunch and then having there be lulls in the conversation. So we had these little card prompts. And what came out of it was just really beautiful and really incredible. Us sort of challenging our thoughts on the world. We had a really diverse group of people, not only in what they do, but the areas that they live in and their lines of work and what they look like. And we just thought, wow, there might be something here. So we created these cards. There's a number of different sort of themes, renew, redefine, revolt, and so on. And we just thought, is there a way that we can scale this? And the most important part, obviously, is to scale the conversation and to scale the idea of what can we do to reimagine the status quo? What can we all do in our everyday lives to, essentially find a way to make the world a better place? And we thought this was a good place to start. You can take this on your Zoom calls. You can take this on your Skype calls. You can take this on your FaceTimes and into dinner parties when we get to do that again. But it's kind of an easy foray into allowing yourself the space and allowing the people around you the space to, reimagine what this world could be.
Yeah, it's especially appropriate right now. As you mentioned, people are using technology more. You don't want that awkward lull when you're talking to your friends, but you guys have some kind of specific recommendations as to how to incorporate this on, say, your Zoom calls with friends. And can you also give us maybe some examples of what some of those questions might be in those categories?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I would recommend, everybody is doing friends calls and doing family calls, and even businesses and corporations are still staying connected during this time. And particularly because there is no, world before that we can go back to. That world is going to be vastly different, at least for the foreseeable future. So how do we reimagine what we want the next phases to be? And can we start that imagination process and that creative process right now to see what we want going forward? Some of the example questions, a simple one: how do you reimagine the status quo in your everyday life? What are just some little things that you do? That could be, as a woman, that could be taking up more space on the subway and asserting yourself. For me, it's, being an out gay person and living that way and sort of challenging what it means to, be an athlete and be a businesswoman and be gay all at the same time. Other examples that we have, tell us about a time that you've stood up for yourself and why, and what that feeling felt like. What's one social justice issue that you wish you could take on and change, or that you would change? If you could be your own boss for one day, or the boss of your company, what things would you do differently in your workplace? So it's all sort of prompts of, we're not saying burn the whole house down and everything that came before has to go. We're saying, what can we take from before? What things aren't quite working? And how can we reimagine those going forward into the future?
Megan, one question that stood out to me and something we're all thinking about right now, I would love to get your take on what you think here. If you could shake up any industry right now, which one would it be? I imagine, you're obviously making moves in the sports world, but what is one industry you think will be shaken up out of this pandemic?
Hopefully the healthcare industry. I think that we've seen that there's quite a bit of problems even before this. In our country, obviously, a lot of people's healthcare is tied to the employment. We're seeing, absolutely record numbers, Great Depression level numbers of unemployment. I think healthcare is a basic right. It shouldn't be something that people are worrying about. I've heard stories of, people not going to the hospital because they don't have healthcare. And, during a time that we're going through, as a country and as a world, a healthcare crisis, this shouldn't be something that is on anybody's mind. So hopefully the healthcare industry, we could really shake that up and hopefully make it actually work for everybody.
Yeah, Megan, quickly, what is the next step in fighting for equal pay in the soccer world? We know that's something that you are continuing to fight on.
Yeah. So obviously we, received a little bit of a disappointing ruling on the last one, but we will appeal. It'll go to the next circuit of the court. I think it's the Ninth Circuit or something like that. Got to get all my legal jargon right. But we'll continue to fight. We still feel very confident in our case. We felt like the opinion of the court didn't fully grasp what gender discrimination actually is. It made a big emphasis on the fact that we negotiated our own CBA, and now we have seen that the men's, is better. So now we want to jump to that, which really that was not the case. We specifically asked for the same structure, the same amount of money as the men's team, and were explicitly told no, and that was never going to happen. So that's sort of the whole catch of gender discrimination, is that you don't start from an equal place. So we'll continue with that. It was a frustrating blow, but I think honestly it's invigorated us even more, knowing how frustrating that was for us and knowing how many women go through that in their everyday lives, and just continuing to take from that energy. And we've said this before, the fight isn't over until there's equal pay, and so we don't have that quite yet. So
all right. Well, we appreciate the fight that you're fighting, Megan. Thank you so much for your time here today. That's Megan Rapinoe, co-founder of ReInc.